defining of masculinity. At first, I thought it was the redefining. I thought that that's what we needed, was to redefine masculinity. But the reason I called my book Man Enough Undefining My Masculinity was because I realized the redefining of it would perpetuate the exact same problem. The problem isn't the definition. The problem is that someone has decided what it means to be a man. Who was the person? What did he look like? Was it a bunch of men? Were they all the same type of men? Because what it seems to be the case is that the men who decided what being a man looked like all seemed to be the same type of man, right? Strength, power, dominance, sense of direction, not asking questions, self-assuredness, confidence, bravado. All of these things are what being a man is. Now, of course, there are also amazing parts of what being a man is, but when you Google the definition, that's generally what comes up. And what I believe needs to happen is that we need to do away with the definition, the rigid box that creates this culture where we have to fit inside of it in order to be accepted. And instead, get rid of the box to make room for anybody who identifies as a man, as male, to be allowed to be male without any consequence, to be allowed to be free. Because I think what the definition does is it creates restriction. It has us in shackles and chains, and we need to be liberated from this definition so that we can all be free, because the one thing I know about men is that none of us are free. We might be free in this patriarchal idea of what freedom looks like, but we're not free in our hearts. We're not free in our bodies. We're not free to sing and dance around and be ridiculous and move our bodies in funny ways and cry and laugh and scream and we're not free to do any of that stuff. In fact, we have to be very collected and calm and serious and leveled and make sure that we're balanced, because the feminine is what's imbalanced, and we need to be balanced so that people can trust us. And we have to be powerful and sure in ourselves, and we can't be insecure, because God forbid, if we're insecure, then, well, how will we ever be leaders? And all of these ideas have to go, because all of them are prescriptions for unhappiness. So that's why I believe we have to undefine it. Redefining it would just be creating a new box, and eventually somebody would have to then create a new box and a new box and a new box. And we just got to get rid of the damn box.
And the interesting point also is that it goes on both sides of the spectrum. Even femininity is defined, that they can't be warriors or MMA fighters and who said
that? Men said it. That's the problem, right? Women didn't decide that. And this is the thing about the patriarchy. The patriarchal system constricts both genders. We don't see it that way. So we think, men have this and women have their definition, but men created both. Men created. I mean, if you go back, way back, like the deities, the goddesses were women. We worshipped female goddesses as much or more as we did the male. That all eventually changed, right? With the Zeuses of the world, and how did they look like? How did we describe them? What were they, right? But before that, it was the female deities. And so all of this, like the idea that women can't be warriors, I just think it says who? Says who?
Exactly.
Right? And by the way, why do we then decide that being a warrior is something that somebody should be? I think if anything, if women ruled the world, there probably wouldn't need to be warriors. What are warriors except people that either defend their town or village or country from ongoing attacks, or people that go to attack other villages or territories to conquer them? This is a very masculine patriarchal idea of dominance and power, which was created by men. We want to assume more power. We get more power by conquering somebody else, by taking their women, by taking their money, by taking their food, and having them then live under us, making them slaves. This is how it started a long time ago, versus living in unity and in peace, cohabitating with other cultures and villages, not seeing our neighbors as others and otherizing them, or as enemies, right? Competing for food or for shelter, versus collaborating to solve these problems, living in harmony with the world and with nature and with each other, right? These would be feminine ideals, and yet this is the secret in the future to a world where we could have world peace.
It's a very, this topic obviously can go for hours, and of course it's like you said, to maintain dominance on the male side, you need to, back in the day, control or maintain women. And the beauty, or I think one of the most beautiful things today in social